Hello, everyone, and welcome again to MMG 755. I know many of you have been on the system already, working hard, working diligently. I wanted to give you a little background, if you can, on organizational development. Started way back in the 40s, and one of the great contributors, of course, is Kurt Lewin. Even today, one of his models, the force field analysis model, is used in, and those of you that are taking project management, it should be part of the problem-solving process in project management. It is a great model that really deals with the forces for change, things going against you, things going for you, prioritizing the process, coming up with your Pareto, working on only the key things. It is a great way to analyze. But that's in your textbook, and you can kind of catch up to date on that. What I want to talk about is the development of the field. You know, in the 60s and the 70s, even in the 80s, organizational development was known as touchy-feely. You know, too much on the soft side, not enough on the hard side. And in many cases, it was justifiable for people to make those comments. Earlier on, some of your very large corporations would have these T-group, these meetings, and you know what they had a tendency to do is rip people down, and they wanted to repackage them, and it was all about self-disclosure, and it got into areas of you know, really personal, had nothing to do with business. And facilitators weren't that crafted at it. Everybody thought they were a little junior psychologist. And you know what happened in a lot of cases is people came back from these events. It started to be these team building events, if you will. And they weren't feeling very well. They got chopped up in a meat grinder. And in extreme cases, there have even been people that have committed suicide after coming back from one of these T-group meetings. Very few, but it has happened. And then it started to take on a different role. It started to get harder. Leave all the soft side and get some balance, but start to focus on change, organizational change. And not so much trying to change people, but taking a look at a broader spectrum. What's the bigger organization look like? What should it look like? What about strategy? What about structure? What about systems? What about process? You know, so it started to become more disciplined and shed this mantle, if you will, of being too touchy-feely. It focused on driving positive change. Well, positive change does not mean you're not going to lay people off. It does not mean you're not going to redeploy people. You know, it means that you are going to create some type of change that is going to have a profound positive impact on the revenue line, growing revenue, or on the cost line, reducing costs. And hopefully both of those at the same time would be great. And so now in today's environment, it's about systemic, system-wide organizational change. That's what the textbook says, but you know, it really is about any manager who wants to take his or her organization to a new dimension of success, wants to improve the process, wants to do something with software, hardware, internet, etc. You can use the concepts of organizational development in the sphere that you are responsible for, that you manage, and you can't go outside that. I mean, you can't influence things that you don't control. So my advice to people using these OD tools and interventions is just focus in the area that you can control and let it grow. And you know, a pocket of excellence, by the way, has a tendency to kind of expand. You know, people are going to understand what you're doing. So that's a little background of the field. It normally reports to in mid-sized, smaller organizations the Vice President of Human Resources. In much larger organizations, the OD will report to a senior officer, and they'll have a seat at the table of power. And that's just the nature of things. A lot of people subcontract, outsource to consulting organizations, but it's a great field. It's a great field to be in. And right now, the role that managers are playing, managers are assuming that they have to take on these responsibilities. You can't rely on somebody else. If you're an operating manager, you need to be driving these changes yourself. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of thought, insight, and I'll be checking in with you later. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.